Hello, fellow Daemonolators. As Conley here. I just finished doing a webinar for SOMA about Daemonolatry Blood Magick. And it occurred to me that a lot of you may have not had the opportunity to actually listen in on that. And it seems I scared away some people with my thoughts on Daemonolatry Blood Magick because evidently they're not very popular, so to speak. So, the problem with being a bit eclectic in your practice is that not everyone's going to agree with you, and those who have standards where they hold everything in a rigid viewpoint, in their own rigid viewpoint, they're not going to want to actually, they're not going to want to listen to what you have to say if your ideas challenge their own beliefs. So, anyway, all of that aside, I'm going to actually kind of go through and kind of discuss Daemonolatry Blood Magick with all of you a little bit, since not everybody had the opportunity to attend the SOMA webinar. And of course, there were a lot of really great questions, which I'll always appreciate, and maybe I'll go over and answer some of those questions again at the end of this little presentation here that I'm going to put up on YouTube. So, so like the first question is, what is Daemonolatry Blood Magick? Well, basically, as you all know, Daemonolatry is the worship of demons, and demons are divine intelligences, and blood magic is magic, but Daemonolatry Blood Magick is specifically the use of both the demons and blood in magic. So, that kind of gives you an idea of what Daemonolatry Blood Magick actually is. And in Daemonolatry, blood magic, the use of blood is often used as a symbolic payment to manifest change, and it is used to attune magical items or recipes to the magician. It is also used as an offering to a demonic force for spiritual help, and whether or not that demonic force is within or without. And also, blood is also used commonly in Daemonolatry as a method to bind together members of a group, as in the rite of imbibement. So, we'll discuss the rite of imbibement here a little bit more in a bit. But first we're going to talk about how blood is taken. Because a lot of people mistake Daemonolatry, or mistake, when you say you're taking blood, they're like, oh, you're going to open a vein, or you're going to cut something you shouldn't. And that's not the case at all. We advocate that blood be taken in the least destructive way possible. And usually this is accomplished by using a diabetic lancet device. It used to be, back in the old days, before diabetic lancet devices were very commonplace and easily obtained, people did use knives, and they would cut their hands. And you have to be careful of that, because you could accidentally cut something seriously and damage your hand, nerves in your hand and tendons and such. And you don't want to do that. So, and then of course, one can also hire a phlebotomist to actually draw blood from the arm. So, if you need more than a few drops. And one of the reasons you might need more than a few drops would be if you're doing Belphegor rites, or rites to the ball deities, where you're making a circle of ball stones, where you have to bathe the stones in blood. Or if you're doing an extended ritual, and you don't want a million diabetic lancet devices, but you need a lot of blood, you can always use vials of blood that were taken from you at a different time, and just kind of use it throughout the entire ritual, as you might do in Kesdea Rite of Ball. So, there's always that. Now I want to talk about very quickly, this is kind of the condensed version of that SOMA webinar, but it kind of covers all of the same things. Let's discuss why blood is used. So basically, blood is the sacred bond between mother and child. You share your mother's blood while you are in the womb, and it is a life-giving force. Without it, our blood, we can't survive. So there is that. So blood is like an essence of you. It's an actual sacred part of you. And next, blood is necessary for life, obviously. But offering blood is considered a sacrament. Now, by sacrament, I mean it's something that shows an intention of purity, or a pure intention. It shows your dedication and your sincerity. So offering blood is considered a symbol of that. So that's something to consider when we're discussing blood magic. Now, where is blood used in demonolatry? Since the body is the temple and the blood runs through the body, the only place blood is used in demonolatry is within the temple. Now, whether or not that temple is indoor or outdoor, that is entirely up to you. So, and next, when is blood used? It can be used as an offering to the demons, the divine intelligences. Now, before you turn off this video because you disagree, because I did have, somebody walk out of that SOMA webinar because they disagreed with that. You'll have to hear me out on my feelings about offerings to the demons. You're offering a sacred part of yourself to that demon. You're offering a sacrament. Basically saying, look, my intention is pure. That's basically what you're doing when you offer blood to a demon. So, and then of course as a sacrifice to your divine will. Basically saying, I'm so serious about wanting what I want that I'm willing to suffer pain and give up a part of myself for what I want. So that is what a sacrifice to the divine will means. And that, your divine will is what I'm saying, yourself. And of course, as an additive to personal magical items or brews. I do like to point out here that even Franz Barton, noted hermeticist, did advocate using blood in fluid condensers. A drop of blood into the fluid condenser would attune that fluid condenser to the magician. So that is definitely something to consider. And then finally, blood is used in the rite of imbibement, where an entire coven will get together and everybody puts a drop of their blood into the chalice of wine, usually. The alcohol does kill any bloodborne pathogens. And then everybody takes turns drinking from that cup, basically as I'm sharing my blood with my brothers and sisters. So it's a bonding type ritual, and it's done through blood. So that rite of imbibement is also a very important part of demonolatry. So those are the most common reasons in demonolatry magic when blood is actually used. So when most people think of demons and blood, they think of blood pacts, where somebody's making a deal with the devil, or a deal with Beelzebub or Mephistopheles or whomever. And basically, I give you my blood in exchange for fame or girls or money or whatever. And that's just not necessarily true. I mean, blood is used in pact making, but more in the sense that blood is, it's a sacrament. You're basically saying, I'm committed to this change. I am dedicated to it. I am seeking your help to do this, to the demon. And I'm willing to give up a sacred part of myself to show you my commitment. That's exactly the whole point of the whole blood pact. Now, if you are one of those people who does believe that giving demons blood is a bad thing, and it's going to destroy you in some way, then if you believe that's really the case, then yeah, maybe you should stay away from blood magic, because self-fulfilled prophecy, the universe is mental. You are going to create a self-fulfilled prophecy if you do believe that. So the dangers of the blood pact can be very real if you believe in those dangers. So do keep that in mind, because we do create our own reality. Now, there are 4 common myths that I often get about blood magic and demons, and I'd like to sit and discuss them for a minute. The first is that the demon will need more and more blood until you're destroyed. So some people really believe that if you give a demon blood, they're just going to want more and more, and then you're going to eventually kill yourself or something insane like that. I'm going to be blunt with you. I've been working with demons for 30 years. I've been doing blood magic for almost as long. And I've never run across this. Demons that do like blood are perfectly happy with just a drop. I mean, unless the ritual itself calls for more, and that's more of a traditional thing, as in like the Ballstones and Belphegor rite. that's, really, you're not going to need that much blood. Okay. The next myth is that all demons demand blood. Now, demons are divine intelligences. That's a very broad term. In my opinion, that includes angels, includes goetic spirits, includes jinn, planetary spirits, all of these things. And I know that upsets a lot of people, but hear me out. To say all demons demand blood is just kind of ridiculous. Some of them actually do not like blood at all, and that's very true for Kemetic demons. But there are Western Semitic demons who actually do like blood, like all of the Baal deities and Belphegor. And then, of course, there's your demons that'll accept blood, but, they'll take something else, too. It's not like they prefer blood over anything else. So that is not true. Not all demons demand blood. Okay. The next myth is that using blood will give the demon control over you. So, this is a complete myth. Yes, blood is a sacred part of yourself. It will attune a demonic spirit to you by an offering to that demonic spirit. But giving your blood to a demon does not give that demon control. And I only say that because I've been doing this for 30 years, and I have yet to have a demon take control of me. Now, perhaps if that is part of your belief system, then maybe, once again, you can create a self-fulfilled prophecy, and maybe it could happen. I'm not going to say that it couldn't happen, just that if it's not really part of your belief system, it's not likely that it's going to happen. And the other myth that I often hear is that animal or innocent blood is more powerful. There are groups out there that are satanic who do believe that killing animals is preferable to taking your own blood, and that it's more powerful. I don't advocate animal sacrifice. However, I'm not against it if, say, someone or a coven wants to practice humane, respectful sacrifice of food animals, and those animals are consumed. Their flesh is consumed after the rite. And I mean that by after cooking them and cleaning them and all of that. So, and the only time I would advocate using an animal is if either the rite is very sacred or very big and important, or you are doing something like making ballstones and you need a lot of blood and you would prefer to use animal blood. But my general consensus there is that if someone is willing to sacrifice the blood of someone else and not their own, then they're kind of a chicken shit. That's just how I see it. That's my opinion. You're either brave enough to sacrifice something of yourself for what you want, or you aren't. So either you're a coward or you're not. And that's kind of the traditional demonolatry viewpoint of that, if the truth be known. So there are other misconceptions as well, such as that blood magic equals vampirism. That's not true. I have never resonated with the label vampire. And this often comes in when we're discussing the rite of imbibement, because everybody's drinking, the coven members are all drinking each other's blood. Essentially, is what we're doing. We're sharing in everyone's blood. I've never viewed that as vampirism. I viewed that as like a bonding between brothers and sisters in the arts. So, and while I'm not, opposed to people calling themselves vampires if they choose to, and while I do believe in psychic vampirism, I do not. So that's completely wrong. The next misconception is that only teenagers practice blood magic and that it's a rebellion thing. And here's the thing. Many of the demonolators I know that practice blood magic are older adults. They're professionals in their field. They have families. They have mortgages. All of these things. They are certainly far from being rebellious teenagers. So that's actually that's just a falsity right there. And then people say, oh no, if you do blood magic, you're an image occultist, you're doing it just to be dark and scary. And that's not true either, because, once again, a lot of the people who practice this are actual adults who have, adult responsibilities, families, they work professional jobs. So that's just a misconception. And then finally, the final misconception, and I'm sure there are others. I'm sure I'm not covering all of the misconceptions, but these are the main ones. This last one is that those who practice blood magic are mentally off depressed and or they're suicidal, that we're all cutters, that we all like to cut each other. And that's not the case either. Most of the demonolators I know who practice blood magic are very well adjusted, mentally stable, and not depressed people at all, very happy as a matter of fact. So, once again, that's just another misconception. So, those are the basics of everything that we covered in the SOMA webinar. And I know this video is actually going to be shorter than an hour, but I actually answered questions. And some of the questions that came up was, so if you consecrate magical items with blood, can you use those items then to work with the demons who are actually abhorrent toward blood as some sort of offering or anything like that? And the answer there is yes. If the magical item is, you used your blood to consecrate the magical item, to attune it to you, then it becomes an extension of you. It's a part of you at that point. So using it to work with that demonic force is fine. However, if you are consecrating an item to a demonic spirit, you don't want to use your own blood if they are abhorrent to blood. If it's a Kemetic deity, for example, because they are also demons, and divine intelligences, then you don't want to use blood at all, especially if it's a tool that is specific to them. So depending on what you're doing, that's kind of the answer there, is depending on what you're doing. I was also asked if there were angels. Since angels theoretically are demons, divine intelligences, if you could use blood to offer them. There are some angels that you can. This is not a documented practice. This is something that, it's not something that a lot of people do. There's probably a fringe underground current of us who would actually dare offer blood to angels. I've done it. So, in that respect, yes, there are angels who are perfectly fine with blood offering, if you give them a drop of blood. Michael, Raphael, I mean, as far as like, major. Uriel, not so much. Uriel's kind of like, I'm not really into the blood thing. Enochian angels, they're fine with blood offering for the most part. I haven't run across one yet that seemed either incensed or offended that I've given them a blood offering. So, and of course, not that I've given all of them blood offerings. When I work Daemonolatry Blood Magick, I don't always use, or when I work Daemonolatry, I don't always use blood magic. It's just that blood magic is just more common in Daemonolatry for some reason, probably because, I don't know, because of the nature of the practice, I suppose. Because somebody asked, what is the difference between regular magic and Daemonolatry Blood Magick? Well, magic is magic is magic. The difference is that Daemonolatry Blood Magick includes demons, and it often includes blood, but not always. So, I'm just trying to give the why of why, we do certain things in Daemonolatry. And the next thing I'd like to explain is a lot of people hear us use, those of us who practice some form of Kemetic Daemonolatry, or work with Kemetic Pantheon in our Daemonolatry practice. We often say, praise be Sobek, the blood is the life. And the reason we say that is Sobek was the Egyptian crocodile god of the Nile. And the Nile was the lifeblood of Egypt at the time. So, again, the blood was very sacred. The blood was of the mother and was passed on to the child. So, that's where praise be Sobek, the blood is the life, comes from, because basically, Sobek was the guardian of the Nile, and the Nile was the lifeblood of Egypt. So, there you go. Let's see. There were a couple of other things. I want to make sure that I hit like the main points, the really good ones, specifically. We talked about taking blood from certain parts of the body for specific magical workings, like from the hands. Often in Daemonolatry, we'll take it from the hands because it's just the easiest place, especially for pricking, And the hands are used to create. And since magic itself is a creative process, and real magicians create, and it's very creative, the hands are always a good choice for taking blood from. Now, some people, if they're doing like mental magic, they'll take some blood from the head. If they're doing magic for momentum to move forward, they'll take blood from the feet. And if they're doing fertility magic, for example, they may take blood from the area of the lower abdomen or the genitalia, which I don't really recommend because that could be unsanitary and unsafe. And so forth. I mean, you kind of get the gist here, right? So, like, different parts of the body have different magical meanings. You can actually read more about this in Keys of Okkat. Keys of Okkat covers a great deal about blood magic in it. So, that's pretty much it. I know this is like a very short presentation, only maybe 20 minutes or so. But I'm hoping that I covered the basics of Daemonolatry Blood Magick here for you. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to write me on my Facebook or leave a question here on the YouTube channel.